Thanks. So with that, why don't we get started? If you didn't hear from Keith, we are recording tonight's meeting, so others who can't attend in real time can watch it after the fact. Thank you all for being here. Excited to see all of you. We have a very full agenda tonight. This is a membership meeting. We have our board meetings every month on the second Tuesday at 7, and then we've often kind of just replaced that with the membership meeting to reach a wider audience. So thanks for taking the time to be with us. I did share the agenda previously, but I can just kind of run through it as we go. I think to start off, I just wanted to highlight real quick as far as, as a PTA, I know we have some new attendees here. I think there's 3 areas we really try to support the school community with. The first is just having volunteers, so the people that you're going to hear from tonight, as well as finding ways to support the school directly with our volunteer network and finding, when we hear needs from Principal Prin or Assistant Principal Bowerman, finding people that can help out. So I think that's a service. Along those lines, I wanted to flag that our current IT lead, Keith Vance, who we just heard from, is likely to become treasurer next year. So if anyone on the call right now is interested in helping in a supporting role with IT issues, helping to run the meetings behind the scenes, things like recording the events, we could really use some help on that front. So if you're interested at all, that would be great. You can reach out to me directly at president@maryvalepta.org. And the other thing I would suggest is that in off months when we don't have a full membership meeting, the board is still meeting the second Tuesday at 7, and anyone is welcome to attend, to hear an update from school leadership, to ask questions, to just kind of learn more about what's going on at the school. That's a great way to get involved initially, finding ways to volunteer and to, you're going to hear from the committee leads later in the agenda. And if you're at all interested in the topics that they're covering, we can always use additional support and volunteers on that front. So that's one area. The second is, I think, you'll hear later from Ashwin on the communications front. We really try to get out the word of activities going on, find ways to support the school through communications. I think a good example of that was today. Eric's wife, Julie, flagged that there is funding available coming out from the state of Maryland to support families that need financial support to get access to broadband connections and to get support to buy laptops or desktops for the home use. And so that's a resource available, and the PTA with our communications network can make sure that people are aware of that. So I think we can do more of that. I think we've built a lot in that direction, and that's an important service we can provide. And then the third is just funding. You'll hear from Sandra later that we can really raise a decent amount of money as an organization to support the school community. And so we're always on the lookout for sort of project leads that, if they got a little bit of funding, could do something to enrich the school community. So really connecting the fundraising with activities to support the school. So that's another area. If you have any ideas of, hey, if I had $500, I'd love to do this thing for the school. We love those ideas, and we'd love to work with you on that. So feel free to reach out. That also highlights the importance of Sandra's work fundraising to make sure that we can make those activities possible. So those are the big 3 areas. And then from there, I just want to hand it off to Amanda, our secretary, for the approval of last month's minutes. Amanda?
Thank you. I'm going to try screen sharing here. Unlike our children, I don't do this all of the time. So hopefully this will work. Can people see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so these are the minutes from our last meeting, April 13th. I will slowly scroll down, and I just need someone to motion to approve and someone to second.
I approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. So I should note, if we were in person, these would have been paper handouts. They are saved on a Google Share Drive that certainly all of the board has access to. Stephen, it occurs to me, I don't know if these are posted in a public location for everybody, but that is something we certainly can work on doing in the future. So,
correct. I don't know if these are, but we definitely can. That's a great idea. And that's another area where we've built over the years some online platform, and anyone who wants to help on that front, we'd love to get some support on getting all our documents organized and continuing to build on that kind of stuff. So thanks, Amanda. And I can share the agenda, I guess, in a minute, but I wanted to hand it off first to Principal. Our main speaker for the night will be Assistant Principal Bowerman, speaking about the Montgomery County Public Schools summer school info. But first, I wanted to give our school principal an opportunity if there's anything else that you would like to share with this group as an update. Principal Prin.
Everyone, it's good to see you. I don't really have much of an update this month. Mr. Bowerman's going to share the summer school planning that's been going on, so that's a big deal. I did want to share that we have something new starting this year. Mr. Hendershot became our full-time PE teacher just right before the move came, and he has been getting his feet on the ground with the elementary age. He was a middle school PE teacher before joining the Maryvale family. And he's very excited about bringing field day back to Maryvale. I don't know, it's been years and years since I think we've had a field day. But in this instance, you know, with some in person and some virtual and all the social distancing, he has really grappled with the best way to do it and stuck with his determination and has planned a virtual field days for families to participate in with their children. It's going to be the afternoon of Wednesday, June 4th. However, that is not have to be the time that you participate in the activities. They will all be recorded activities, and then he will ask for families that feel comfortable to take pictures and send it on to one social media feed for other Maryvale families to see. He's ordered some incentives for the kids, some cougar incentives. There's, I think, a water bottle, a cougar bag, a bright yellow bag with the cougar logo on it. And I think one or two other things. So he's very excited about it. This will be an event that families or that you can watch your children do it either on that day or, you know, at any time. It'll just be open. So we're going to give that a try. That's something new for this year. The COVID testing, the weekly COVID testing is going well. Parents who fill the consent out only have to fill it out once. We do still have classrooms that don't have the minimum number of 5 to be a test group. So if you've given permission and your child has not been tested, that's likely the reason. But I think last week we had 9 classrooms tested, all were negative. And so, and the groups change week to week as the consents change, but that's going pretty smoothly. 5th grade promotion, I know families will know is definitely going to be a virtual experience. Mr. Bowerman is working with the 5th grade team to identify other ways we can celebrate our 5th graders moving on to middle school next year. So more about that will be coming. But that's about it, unless anybody has any specific questions.
Any questions for Principal Britton? All right, well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Next up on the agenda, we have Assistant Principal Bowerman with some info about the MCPS Summer School Program. Mr. Bowerman, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, Maryvale families. I'm going to share my screen for a moment and show you some points of interest. So let's see what we can get going here. Give me just a second, make sure we're all ready. Okay, great. All right, here we go. Everybody see my screen okay? Someone give me a thumbs up, make sure I see you. All right, great, thank you so much. So in terms of the presentation piece here, that's not what's supposed to happen. Present, there we go. So here's some initial information. And let me say first to all of our families, the information that we are currently providing as a school is focused on in-person summer school. MCPS is doing a centralized virtual all online program, but we have nothing to do with that. Short of me sharing some information with regards to the virtual link that then goes directly to MCPS and they'll send messaging out, that's completely navigated by the county itself, localized there, and then information will be disseminated from the system itself to families doing that. Our program that we're attempting to offer was the result of a countywide initiative to really focus on all schools providing a summer school experience, different than ELO, Summer Up, SAIL, and things like that. This is an elementary program that focuses on in-person, as I mentioned. It runs July 6th to July 30th. Registration is already open, as many of you know, and it runs until June 4th. And the program that we've designed runs 9:30 in the morning until 2 o'clock. It's 4.5 hours for students. Now, each grade level is represented, and they'll have a specific number of students in the class, about 14 students roughly. Socially distanced, mask wearing, all health and safety protocols that we're currently using are still in line with MCPS and CDC, guidelines, and so we're following those through the summer. And the program has transportation with it, unless a student's a walker living nearby, and they would continue to be walkers. Transportation's provided through the system, and the programs are being provided in English as well as French, and we're currently staffing those programs. And then the daily programs themselves consist of a few different things. So you have math, which is about 90 minutes long, a math block. You have a literacy block, which is 90 minutes as well, a 30-minute lunch, and then a 45-minute special. Now, currently, I have a media program, a full media program. So that's one special option. There's also an instrumental music program this year for all grade levels, which we've never tried before. We're going to experience that and have that. And there's possibly a third option that might be offered. It's currently in the works. If it was, it would be a choral music piece, possibly. Much of this, as you can imagine, is built around numbers and also available staff. And so as we move forward with people enrolling, our intention is to have a robust program, but of course, so much is dependent on staffing and on numbers. And so just to kind of continue to have some fluid thinking around that, being open to change, and as change does occur, and if it occurs, myself and Ms. Prin will send out, messaging to our school community about that. Down below here, this is just simply the MCPS Summer School Program website for the county, and it kind of lays out just general overviews of the program I just described to you. There's parent view resources here for those who are doing the virtual, because that's the link, using the parent view to register for virtual only. And then it goes into a couple of different types of programs that are being offered in the county in that way. So there's that link. Each grade level right now has a different program in terms of how the day is set up. One group might start with math in the morning, another literacy, obviously. That way I can have the students who we ultimately enroll into the summer school have an option for which special they would like to choose. So they might have, a second grader might have math, then literacy, lunch, and end the day with the media program special that they chose. And I'm excited about that. In terms of lunch time and specials time, I'm banding together first and second grade together, as well as third and fourth, and fifth will be a separate entity in terms of how things are structured. Right now, Miss Kristen Grunmeyer, Miss Grunmeyer, who is a first grade teacher in the English program, she's a wonderful person, great teacher. She is our summer lead teacher who helps to kind of manage the overall program. I'm the coordinator and run everything. And then at the ground level with the teachers, Ms. Grunmeyer will be working with me and collaborating with teachers. So that's a general, I guess, kind of overview to the program, but I'm happy to answer questions. Just again, being aware, everything right now, there's over 15,000 students who registered across the county, 4 summer programs. Schools right now are looking at their staffing at elementary, middle, and high school level to attempt to staff, because as you can imagine, staff are also extremely worn out from a very, very intense year. And so putting staffing together in ways that can support ESOL students, special ed students, various immersion program needs are pretty extensive. So we are looking to do our best right now as we put schedules together, look at the enrollments coming in, and the students, and beginning the hiring process next week as we look at staffing. A lot goes into it, as you can imagine. So how can I help? Are there questions that anyone would like to ask?
Yes, hi, Mr. Bowerman. This is Mr. Dillon.
Yes, sir.
And I was wondering, with the math and literacy, is this more of a review for the year, or will there be new content?
So there is, in essence, we're going to say it's new content because there were units this year, and in this kind of embedded in this past year throughout the pandemic, there's portions of materials that were not, taught due to pacing in the instruction, pacing guides for Eureka and Benchmark, how those are set up. And so certain things were set aside, or they weren't, as the county kind of describes it, they weren't dove into with the depth that they might do if all students were in person, with a lot of hands on it, for example, experiential learning in some cases. And so if a student didn't attend summer school this summer, and comes into their next grade level, they're not going to be behind in any way, having not gone to summer school. But the summer school opportunity, they're embedding in the curriculum for the math and literacy pieces of things that weren't explored as in depth, and going more in depth with those. And also, kind of pulling into that as I've been looking at what is being kind of offered right now in the curriculum. They're pulling out things that have also already been explored some this year. So it's kind of a hybrid, things that have been worked on, and then pieces of those units that weren't explored in depth, and some new material as well. And then sprinkled kind of into that, in some of the cases, teachers are also looking at least in the conversations I'm having with interested staff right now, they were looking at some creative problem solving about how to layer in, like, for example, some coding work into some of the math instruction, to kind of make it, like, jazz it up a little bit, and make it also a really, enjoyable experience, and a fun experience this summer as well. So because of the intense weight that I think students have really been, kind of saddled with virtually and in person, even though everybody's doing great now in school and the kids have done a tremendously online for all the struggles we've had, we want to have a solid academic summer program that's also creative and fun and has a bit of entertainment into it as well. So it keeps it light, it has some levity around it. And like I said, we'll have some reinforced learning that they've already been exposed to, and then opportunities in some of those, units and standards within the content to go deeper into the material.
All right, Mr. Bowerman, it's Brian. Another question. Do the students have to participate in the entire program, or is it like week by week basis?
So it's a great question. I've been fielding emails and a lot of phone calls last week, and a bunch of emails from families asking me about that very thing. So it's a free program, right? And like I mentioned, we want the summer to be good. I've told people, it's the expectation. It's 5 days a week program, and it's a full-time program. but it's free and there's no expectations from Ms. Printer-Eye or the county that you have to be there all the time. Now, the challenge there is that I have to speak to is I am trying to staff a program after a very exhausting year with probably most likely a limited staff. And so it's very dependent on numbers given the pandemic guidelines with the county and CDC. So if I enrolled a student who's only there a week and there were 4 other weeks and I had another student who could have attended all those weeks, it does a little bit of a disservice in terms of equity for another child who loses out on that opportunity. Because people have asked me, well, can I do just come for a week? Can I come every other week? Could I do French and English? And right now my answers are, if you're in the English program, that's where I'm registering you. If you're in the French program, that's where I'm registering you. And my expectation and my hope, is that you would attend, the entire time. Someone said to me recently in a conversation, Mr. Brown, we had a vacation planned a while back. We're going to be gone for like part of a week. I said, go on your vacation. Please, your family needs that. You need that. The kids need that. Go and do all of that. And then you'll join us when you come back. I know you're coming back. You're not just going to be there once for a few days and then not return for the rest of the program. So there's no, Maryvale expectation or leveraging of any positional authority by Ms. Printer, myself, on like, you have to, we don't operate that way. And I wouldn't ask that of anybody. Although my hope is, people are there every day for the continuity of learning, relationship building with the students and the teacher, and then just, for the overall flow of how the instruction is going to be paid and set up during that summer school program.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question well enough for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Also had another question. My son is in, I guess, the 4 or 5 math class. Are you planning to have something similar to that?
It's a fair question. We're not going to be doing any compacted programming in the summer school.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. What I could say now is I'm almost positive that wouldn't happen. And the reason why is staffing. I highly doubt that's going to be an option for us within this program. It would be really nice, but I don't have the teachers for it. I have 1 teacher, probably, maybe 2 per grade level, but it's just going to depend when I open up and look at all of my staffing applicants next week when those windows open for me.
Okay.
I will, when we finish this, I will certainly address, and I'll put the community programming message in that I sent out, and it has a kind of a graphic organizer in it. And in that graphic organizer, there's a link to click right on it, and it takes you right into the registration portal to sign up. It takes just a few minutes. And then I think almost, that day, that evening, you'll receive a confirmation about your in-person online registration.
Okay.
The bus routes, as far as I know, are following very similar. Now, the county has not given us any new direction yet. My guidance documents around summer school through the county are updated almost daily. I don't have any new direct, really explicit information on transportation by way of bus routes exactly. I know it's being provided. I know they're going to try as best as possible to adhere to similar stops and routes just based on how that system already is in place. But the county also, because like our French immersion families are all over the county. And so as they kind of work on, buses servicing multiple schools again, and it could be more schools than it normally is during the school year or things like that. I just don't know yet. I don't have any information on that. They're still, I think, working out those pieces. We like to use the expression guidance is coming. And to that point, as I know more about that piece and we really start to tighten up the framework for how the summer school for us is going to work in person, then I can also share out that information in the Connect Ed email. You'll get that information regarding transportation as well. Earliest for car riders, you know, I'm going to say probably you can probably show up about 9:15. The classes are really, you know, I mean, I know people are going to come earlier, and I'll be out there welcoming people. But you know, we start at 9:30, kind of like our you know, it's mirroring our school day now, so it has that similar feel to it. So we'll be letting people out of their cars, you know, 10 minutes before or so, and letting them get on up to their rooms and whatnot. They might be in different spaces, but the same carrying faces. We'll be there to greet them. So,
Quick question. Hello?
yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Bowerman, this is Jose Martinez. Um, eh, my understanding, these classes will be all in person, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. All in person.
There's no virtual at all.
No, sir.
Okay, good. And the other question is for, since they're gonna be, what's that, from 8:30?
9:30 to 2.
9:30 to 2. So
Yes, sir.
that means, so, breakfast and lunch will be provided, or?
As of right now, my understanding is we have a lunchtime. Students can bring lunch. In terms of breakfast and lunch, it's a question I have also asked. And I am waiting again. I can only work off of what I can control and know. Right now, cafeteria services and my cafeteria manager are looking into those things. I've already requested information about that, and they have not received information yet on how they are going to play an active part in summer school at the various schools. If they're being applying for positions and being hired, if there's an expectation that they would be working in some way. I know Miss Yu, our cafeteria manager, Miss Maria, was not sure yet how that was going to function for her. And so I've spoken with her about it, and I'm waiting on some more information on that. And again, as soon as I know, I'm happy to share all that out. There's no secrets there. So, but families obviously can certainly bring lunch. I'm hoping and pushing for it. I would think, right? I would think that the county will be providing, you know, meals during that summer school, because they've been so invested in making sure there are summer programs across the county. So I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I just don't want to say absolutely, and here's what it looks like, because I just don't know yet, and I don't want to have to roll back anything, you know, that was incorrect. But as soon as I know, I'll let you know. The latest pickup.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. The latest pickup, Miss Key, you know, I'm thinking probably around, you know, 2:30ish or so. I mean, obviously, if there's an emergency, I'm there working. You know, we're going to take care of the kids like we always do. But because there's no, you know, Rockville daycare, no before and after care, there's no daycare programs, you know, attached with the school at this time. You know, our expectation is like 2 o'clock, you know, we'd be wrapping up, kids would be coming down and out, you know, so by 2:30, hopefully at the latest, for those later day pickups.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because at the beginning, I thought it was an option between virtual and in person, and I already registered for the virtual. So how do I disenroll?
Yes, ma'am. So it is optional. You could choose to do either one. To unenroll, that is a good question. My suggestion is, if you want to email me, don't mind the party behind me out here somewhere else in the house. If you want to email me, and I can take care of that for you. I don't have enough information sitting like in front of me right now to give you all the details on who to contact and the number and everything, but I can take care of that for you. That's probably easier.
If I can
Go ahead.
If I can just jump in, there's two ways that you can have your child participate in summer school. One is completely virtual. So if that is what you're looking for, that is a program that the county is putting together. It's not put together by Maryvale. It won't be Maryvale teachers per se, but they are certified, highly qualified teachers that if you submitted, you want virtual summer school, that's just not being organized by Maryvale or any other local school. The virtual summer school is being organized by the central office group. And they will do their hiring of virtual teachers and staff that. You had logged in on Parent View for that, to register for that. When you clicked that link, it took you right into Parent View and registered. I would imagine you could go right back there and if you've changed your mind, you know, just deny the request or you know, delete out. So I would imagine you can do it through that.
I already tried, but I don't see any option for
Okay,
going back. Yeah.
yeah. Well, then Mr. Bowerman's gonna, he'll find the answer. He's a great resource person. He'll find it.
Okay.
I'm
great,
working on
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
I put the message in the chat for the graphic organizer I mentioned to you. That's a community messaging, and it has the link in it too, the live link for program registration. That's there now as well. And I just looked on the website, but and a parent also checked it out as well. But that you can email the central program registration. That information is on the MCPS summer program website. But I'm happy to have you email me as well. Parents, you guys are taxed with enough, you know, that you're managing and balancing in your work lives, personal lives, and school lives with your children. So I'm happy to take that and help out with that. So, you know, I'm sure there's not that many people who need it, but if you'd like to email me, ma'am, I'm happy to help with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Bowerman?
No.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Bowerman. I had a quick question for you. This is Julie Aliman. I was wondering, is there a minimum number of students required per grade level and per program? So obviously in our case, you know, if there's not enough French students signing up for a particular grade level, could it potentially be canceled altogether? Will they put them together with another grade?
So that's a great question. It's nuanced. So I'll try to, you know, as always, answer it as honestly as I can. So I have not seen any information about the lowest number. As far as I'm concerned, where there are children, there are need, and where there's need, there's Maryvale. And that's where we show up to meet that need. So we would make something happen. I can already tell you with 90 students already enrolled that we're working on a program. The program is certainly happening. Now the max number we already roughly know about. Right now we're still operating off of 6 foot distance social distancing guidelines. I know CDC, the news, et cetera, have talked about the 3 foot guidelines, which is basically like a normal classroom setup. Desks are always 3 feet apart, typically for aisles and rows and things like that, if they're using regular desks. But we're still working off the 6 foot guidelines, and that's what Dr. Smith and our county has set up. So really we're looking at, there's 1 teacher in the room, roughly 14 students for a total of 15 in the room, socially distanced 6 feet apart from desk to desk. There's going to be 1 para-educator support person per 25 students in a program. So for every 25, I can have another para-educator that I could hire. And those support people would be moving throughout rooms to provide assistance and supports. Like I said, we have programs right now in French and English, and I'm working on staffing those programs. The interesting challenge, Ms. Aleman, with regards to that is, I'm going to make this up for a minute. Let's say I only had a first grade, I had a 2nd and 3rd grade English teachers, and a 1st grade and 4th grade French teachers. Well, those are the programs that I can offer. And we will move forward with those programs. I guess to that end, if there was limited numbers in the English program of students and an abundance in the French immersion program, and let's say in those 2 grade levels I mentioned, in one class I have 6, in the other class I have 9. If I go off of current like patterns in our school now, and let's say the French immersion program classes are at capacity, and you contact me and you're like, hey, Matthew, it's Julie. I just want to know, can I move my child and have him take the English and be in the English summer school program? I'm going to say, let's do it. That's fine. We can move that over. And some parents are like, I'm cool with that. That's fine with me. And some are like, no, I really want to stay within the French structure. And I get that too. But it might be limited. It may, if I look at patterns we're all familiar with, my bet right now is 75, 80% of our enrollments are French immersion. So, that's just simple data right now. So, to that end, I'll just have to see as I start to break down all the numbers and grade levels and students and see who's applying for me. I know some teachers who have expressed an interest to me in my program. And then I'll be looking at all of my application, centralized tracking system information for who else applies to see what I have in terms of staff to staff those classes. But we'll definitely be doing programming. It's just the question is ultimately based on when I start hiring and the numbers, what within those programs I can offer, what grade levels will be able to happen. And as of right now, the county is very much all about, hey, if you're moving forward with a partial program, that's better than nothing. Then you continue forward with that. Until I'm given another directive from the county that says you may not do a partial program. Like you only have a 4th grade English and you have 2nd and 3rd grade French. That's not enough. You can't continue. I haven't heard anything like that right now. And the idea is to try to give as much opportunity and access to students and families as possible. Whatever I have and end up having staff for and student numbers for, we're going to move forward with and create a program around. It may not be perfect and have every grade level represented. It might have every grade level. It might have two teachers per every grade level. It might have just one per every grade level. And some students may not be able to be in the program because of numbers. Or they all could be. So there's so many iterations of conversation, but the bottom line right now is MCPS wants as many families to enroll in the virtual experience or the in-person experience as possible. And they want as many schools as possible to create a program to meet those needs in English or in English and Chinese or English and Spanish or English and French across their schools. So that is what we are committed to.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
No, of course. That was probably a very long answer to your question. So I want to make sure you guys have a lot of details around it all.
So what happens if more kids enroll than there's space or teachers, et cetera?
Great question. I'm asking myself that question every day right now. And I mean, that is certainly a reality of what we are braced with because of the nature of the pandemic and the toll that it's taken on educators across the county. So the reality piece there is we do a tremendous amount of work and conversation around supporting our teachers in their social emotional wellness and try to be very intentional in our work in the school year right now around that, knowing that they struggle and suffer too, just like students and families have. And they're worn out and tired. And I know across conversations throughout the system, there are a lot of teachers who normally would teach, but now they're doing all they can to wrap themselves around their families in the summer and spend heavy time there, away from some of the heaviness of that work. Or, I don't know, sweetheart, it's put away. But I like your costume. You look really nice.
What and where?
I don't know, sweetheart. It's put away. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Oh, I didn't do a good job on that answer. See, I don't have all the answers. I did not know where the sword was, and I'm going to pay for that later. And so, many aren't available. Others have reached out across the county from other places to apply at different schools. We've looked to try to band schools together as well and join various schools to make even more robust programs and have conversations around that as well. Although we are committed, Ms. Print and I are committed to having our program at Maryvale. So if there are not enough teachers, let's say, whatever grade levels we had staff for, those are the programs we would run with. And we would offer those programs.
I can say that the county is doing a very big push on hiring and trying to incentivize teachers to take it on. So at this time, teachers, we have several teachers that are interested, and many that normally, as Matthew said, would do it and don't really want the summer to sort of, again, just gain their energy back. And start out strong in the fall. But the county has a big initiative and push to hire teachers for the summer programs. So for right now, as we initially gain how many want to come, what grade levels is it heavy, what program is heavy, and how can we adjust our staffing to meet those needs and look at hiring others. So it's very early in the game. Registration will close on June 3rd or June 4th. And then we will be able to give everybody a better picture of what the program will exactly look like. But, we know which Maryvale staff right now are going to do it, but it doesn't mean we can't hire other outside from other schools that are looking to work. So in the summer. So it's a wait and see, and we'll be able to share that information with you probably by the end of the first week, second week in June.
Mr. Bowerman, this is Anita Pinto. I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but in terms of the virtual program, do you know if they're going to be offering the compacted math or any French immersion options?
Would you do me a favor? I think I addressed that already, but would you ask that question again, just so I make sure I'm clear? That help?
Sure. For the virtual option,
Oh, okay.
Would the compacted math, for grades 4 or 5, that math option or French immersion be offered? I don't know if you know for the virtual, if that's.
No, I didn't answer that question before, but as far as I understand it, everything with the virtual programs right now is not connected with us at all. So to that point, I don't have any information. There is no information that I've seen, though, that suggests any other languages are going to be used.
Immersion has a big part in this. They just weren't sure what it was going to look like, but immersion was discussed in the virtual setting that's centralized through MCPS, but no details, Matthew's right, no details have come to us about it, but they were looking at how not just French immersion, but Spanish immersion, Chinese immersion, how they could incorporate immersion programs in the virtual centralized through MCPS. But I agree with Matthew. I've not seen anything on the compacted math being offered this summer.
Right, and I know that there's conversation about the enrichment, the compacted, some of those other pieces, but I think they're really trying, like Ms. Prim was saying, they're really trying to keep this programming very separate, so it doesn't become very diluted with in terms of its messaging to families, and that way MCPS, who's controlling the whole virtual piece, can hold on to that and control that and work that with families and prepare that and staff that it's they're going to, and schools themselves at our school level are just responsible only for the programming and details of our school's program.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mr. Bowerman? All right, well, I'm sure he's available in the future if you think of something after this meeting, as always. So we really appreciate both Mr. Bowerman and Principal Prin for all of your hard work with the summer program. Obviously, that takes a lot of work in just navigating this year and providing the support to the school, the staff and the students. Really, obviously, it's a huge effort, and we can definitely see the positive impact it's had on all the kids. So thank you both so much for that, and for meeting with us at 7:45 on a Tuesday night. So with that, we'll shift gears slightly. The next item, we have several other items we want to cover on the agenda. The next is that every spring we identify a nominating committee to identify a slate of candidates to serve as our officers for the PTA for the following year. The fiscal year for the PTA runs July 1st to June 30th. So this will be the team that'll take charge this summer, and we'll work closely with them to ensure a smooth transition. And we really have a really nice group of people that's come together to work together as a PTA that we'd love to have more people participate in. And so people shift roles, but I think it's really been great to build this group over time, and I think really enjoy each other's company. Just for people that wonder, I know it took me a little while to make sense of this. So there's an executive committee, which is made up of the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary. And then there's the board, and the board consists of those 4 executive committee members, plus the chairs of all these standing committees in the PTA, as well as the school leadership and the delegates to the Montgomery County PTA. You'll hear from Brian in just a little bit. So the board is this broader group of people that all get to vote on, hey, how the PTA spends their money, what we do for fundraising, et cetera. And so I think the goal there is to get as many different points of view as possible. So we have a diversity of different grade levels, whether people in the French immersion or the English program, all sorts of different perspectives. I think the more perspectives we get voting in the PTA, the stronger we are as an organization, and we really, I think, serve the broader school community as best as possible. So I think you're going to hear now, I think, briefly from the candidates for next year's executive committee. But I think just something else to think about is just attending some of those board meetings, whether you just want to be a voting member or just to listen in. The more people that engage and participate, I think the better off we all are. With that in mind, I wanted to introduce each of the candidates for those executive committee positions, so they can just either introduce or reintroduce themselves to this group, and maybe just share just a little bit about themselves, or what they hope to see the PTA pursue in the year to come. So with that, our candidate for president for 2021-2022 is Amanda Roberts. Amanda.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Amanda. I have a son, Brendan Roberts, who I realize that's the name you all are looking at, because of course I'm on his Zoom, who is in Miss Skipton's 2nd grade class. So that is the English program. We live in East Rockville, and I've lived here for about 10 years and love the neighborhood. I also have a second son who will be in kindergarten next year, so a year from September. So we're going to be at Maryvale for the long haul. I'm currently the secretary of the PTA, and have been involved in other capacities in the past, restaurant night coordinator and movie night, etc. So I'm excited to be stepping up. It's a bit of a daunting task, and Stephen's done an excellent job. And I love the way that he often summarizes the role of the PTA, that we provide volunteers, we do fundraising, and we do information sharing. And I would add actually one more category, and that's community building. Especially this past year, that's been almost impossible as we are so physically separated from the pandemic. But I really hope that as we enter the fall and begin to really move on, we are, here comes my son. Hello, say hi. Hello, that's Brendan. That we are looking at ways to, build community as best we can. Obviously, we'll have to see where we are in terms of the pandemic and when we can get together. But, bringing back some of the things that physically brought us together, like the fall fling and international night and the science fair, and the things that also made us really feel like a community, and also to celebrate our new building, right? I mean, it's a fantastic facility. We as parents have not been allowed inside yet. Hopefully that will change. Our kids have not been able to really experience it. Like I was asking my son, he's still never been to the gym, because I know there's all of these issues that are happening, and that's fine. But as we begin to really celebrate the community asset that we now have. So I'm looking forward to this year, looking forward to working with the members of the board, and feel free to reach out. Currently, I'm secretary at MaryvalePTA.org. I think that's going to change to president soon. But thank you, and looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and I'm sure you'll be an excellent steward of the PTA. And I will say, you make a great point about the community building. And one thing I would add, I think a sort of pleasant surprise, silver lining of the pandemic is I think that the board meetings being virtual has actually worked quite well. And I think finding ways for people to be a part of this discussion that doesn't involve getting a babysitter or having to drive across the county to meet for an hour. So I think there are ways that we're trying to think about making the most of in person and making the most of people's time so that you can all still stay engaged without feeling like you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to weigh in, because we do want as many people to participate as possible. So anyway, thank you very much, Amanda.
Second that.
Next, our vice presidential candidate, Teresa Clark.
Hey everyone, and Stephen, you stole my answer, but I'll amplify that in a second. So I'm Teresa Clark. I have two boys at Maryvale. They're both in the French program in 3rd and 1st grade. And I, like Amanda, have been involved in PTA activities for a few years. I'm the program and events chair this year, so that position, if I become vice president, will be open. Hint, hint, anyone. And then before that, I was involved in science fair and just kind of showing up at meetings to the extent that Stephen started roping me in more. So I appreciate that. So we hope to give that same treatment to any of you who are on the line, expect to be roped into further things. And so I was going to say basically what Stephen said about, the pandemic has obviously been tremendously challenging and at times tragic. There are things that we have learned that we can keep using in our future lives, like these Zoom meetings, like new ways that we've engaged with people, having, shared resources. Someone was mentioning putting the minutes online. And so I'm really going to be focused on trying to make the resources that we have more accessible to the whole community and kind of meet people where they are so that they can get what they need out of what we have to offer. So thanks for that, and hello to everyone this evening.
That's great to hear. And yeah, we're very excited to have Teresa. I think seeing people that have been involved in one capacity or another that are willing to step up to take even more responsibility just strengthens organization. So thank you so much, Teresa. Next up for our treasurer candidate, Keith Vance. Keith.
Hi, I'm Keith Vance. I have two kids at Maryvale, Arlo in 1st grade and Vivian in 3rd grade. Take over as treasurer with the help of my wife Acacia, who's amazing at bookkeeping and knows all the rules and everything. So I'll be, definitely leaning on her for help with that kind of stuff, because I don't know anything about that kind of thing. But I'd really like to see the PTA, really reach out to the community more. Do more community outreach, and try to engage the community as much as it can, and leverage Member Hub to connect with people digitally and communicate with people about what we're doing and try and get more people involved. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, that's, community building is what we should all be doing. So I'm looking forward to the year.
Thank you so much, Keith. And as I mentioned earlier, Keith had just been incredibly helpful with the back end IT stuff and finding ways to, whether it's moderating some of the meetings with Principal Prin and troubleshooting things, and just it's a good example of how there's a lot of sort of niche areas that we could really benefit from all your expertise, and you can find the commitment that kind of fits with your schedule or your interests. So we're really pleased and excited that Keith will take on the treasurer role. And I think that also highlights, ideally, these committees wouldn't just be a chair that's got to do it all themselves, but we'd really add 1 or 2 people in a support role so that person has someone to help with that. And I think building that on the financial side, I think will be very helpful. And then finally, in the executive committee, last but not least, really excited to have a new face to help lead things, Eric Polakovich-Carr for secretary. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephen. And I should say, it's true, I am a very new. My son is, his name's Bradford, and he's in kindergarten this year, and he's my first child, so it's my first time really being involved with PTA related things and things related to Maryvale. But I'm very excited to take on a role to help with community building, which, I was thinking, I don't know what they're going to say for what they're hoping to see happen, but I'll be probably talking about that. And I live in East Rockville, just off Baltimore Road, and seeing more engagement with our neighbors and other members of the Maryvale community, especially after, all we've been through with the pandemic, and being a part of the team to bring everyone back together and make the best experience possible for our parents and students here at Maryvale. I'm looking forward to following your lead and helping out wherever I can. So thank you.
That's wonderful. We really appreciate your time and your engagement. And I think, yeah, having new families feel welcomed and getting their input and, ideas, I think is fantastic. So with that, and let me just highlight, first of all, it is almost 8 o'clock. I know we said it schedules for an hour. We do have a couple other especially important items of business on the budget we want to cover. If people can't stay beyond this vote, we understand, but if you can allow maybe another 15 minutes or so we can cover the rest of the agenda, that would be great. But with that, I would like to present our candidates, Amanda Roberts for president, Teresa Clark for vice president, Keith Vance for treasurer, and Eric Polakovich-Carr for secretary. They all run unopposed. All in favor of voting this as executive committee team to serve as officers for 2021, 2022, say aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right, well, thank you so much. And as I said, really, their term will start on July 1st, but that gives us some nice time to kind of coordinate with them of handing over, whether it's logistic stuff or helping them, get up to speed so they can hit the ground running. I think we'll work on that next couple months. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly to me or to the rest of the team. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Acacia with a treasurer's update and the vote on the amended budget. Thanks.
Hi. So as far as, our balance on hand, cash on hand, we have about 8,500. As you'll see in the budget that I'll be sharing in a few minutes, a lot of that is allocated and has not yet been spent. We still have about 1,800 just for library books that we're going to be spending this year. So as far as income and expenses this month, not very much, like $150 we brought in, and expenses were $1.33. But I have some things to talk about as far as the budget and what we have to do in order to get ready for the next year in the summer. I talked about in some previous meetings that I needed to make some changes to the budget because normally this isn't a problem. We have a lot of events throughout the year, but I was reminded at a training that we need to really be sure that we have 3 non-fundraising events for every fundraiser. So I needed to go back and look at what we had labeled as fundraisers and make sure that they really were fundraisers and not donations or other categories. And so I was able to move some things around there. And while I was there, change some of the line items on the budget to more accurately reflect the year that we had as far as membership and events that we were planning on holding. So, the bottom line really didn't change that much, maybe by $400 less that we were going to spend, but the individual categories did change. And whenever we make changes to those line items, we have to present it to the membership and get a vote on that. So I'll be sharing that with you in a few minutes and asking for your vote. I've already presented it to the board. Just a note, I did make one change to what I had presented to the board. There was $123 that we had paid for website renewal that I missed. And so I fixed that. So it's off by that amount from what I shared with you. And let's see, our reimbursement form, especially for teachers at the end of the year, the teachers have the PTA covers their membership and then offers them a teacher support grant. So they can ask for $90 in reimbursement for things that they purchase for their classrooms or other supplies. And so the form for them to do that has been put on Member Hub. So it's pretty easy for people to just grab it off of there. And then the instructions are there as well about printing it out and who to send it to, which is me. So that hopefully will be helpful for the staff, but it's for anybody asking for a reimbursement. Another thing, Patricia Polster runs the patrols program. And we allocate $900 every year to help with, I think it's scholarships to the picnic in the summer. That's not going to be happening. And it didn't happen last year. It's not happening this year. But she did ask for new belts and vests for the patrols that are incoming, because those were not returned when we kind of abruptly ended the school year, and a lot of kids were 5th graders. Those didn't get returned. So she asked for us to purchase that. And I said, I'm just going to keep the 900 in that we already had allocated, as long as that was enough for her. She thought it was generous. So she's going to try to get that expense in before the end of our fiscal year, which is the end of June. And I put some money in the 5th grade promotion, $500, thinking that it was probably going to be virtual. But just as a place for if something came up between now and the end of the year that somebody said, oh, we need, for example, the belts that just came up, I kind of padded that in there, and I wanted you guys to know that that was there, and we have a little extra. So, and as far as upcoming, I have to finalize our membership with the county and the national, and then prepare the summer budget. So we have to have a separate budget just for the summer to run from July 1st until the end of September. And then once we get enough people to meet with the membership again, and it's a new school year and everybody's back, then there's another budget that is prepared for the rest of the year. So by the time we have our next meeting, I'll have a summer budget prepared for a vote. And I also will be contacting people to help with the annual review. People who helped last year, thank you. You can't do it this year, so I need new people. I think you can't have anybody who's signed in the last 2 or 3 years. I'll have to double check how many years. I can't sign it, Stephen can't sign it, and I don't think incoming people can sign it because they'll be signing the next year. So I have to contact people, all new people. So if you want to, it's pretty easy. I drop the books off at your door. You look over, email or call with questions. You sign off that all the numbers match, and then we pass it to the next person. I need 3 people. I have some people in mind, but if it's something that you're thinking, I could easily do that. It generally happens the 1st or 2nd week of July after I've closed out the books and reconciled everything. But I thought I'd put an ask in now while we had some people. And
Acacia, how would you like people to reach? Do you want them to email you?
Yes,
where should they
treasurer,
contact you?
treasurer at Maryvale, yeah.
At maryvalepta.org.
Correct. And then Stephen, if you could keep your eye out for an email from AIM with the insurance bill, whenever that comes in, let me know. That should be any day. They've been sending messages like, keep your eye out, make sure your president looks. So that's all I have upcoming. And then now I'm going to try to share my screen, see if I see if I can do this and you guys can see. I'm showing you both budgets, the old and the new, and then we'll vote. Let's see. Oh gosh, I don't know what that did. So if someone has like a quick, I know how to share.
You want me to do it?
Yeah. Oh, but no, I got it. Hold on. No, what's that?
So the passing of the torch from the previous treasurer to the new treasurer.
He's the tech guy. So I know all the other stuff. He knows tech.
You see that?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the budget on the left is the old budget, and the budget on the right is the new budget. And you can see balance at the end of fiscal year has not changed that much, but individual line items have. A lot of the things in the income category was because I moved things from fundraising to donations or to other. And then as far as the committee expenses, I was able to move quite a bit around there and take some things out that we definitely weren't going to do. And it all kind of came out to be pretty close to the same. So I propose that we pass this budget, or ask anybody if you have any questions first. If you have questions, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, I propose that we approve this budget and ask for anybody to second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yep.
Okay. How do I stop sharing my screen? Okay. I don't know how to stop. Oh, you were doing it. That's right. See, I'm not the tech person. All right, that's it for me.
Great. Thank you, Acacia. And obviously Acacia is very detailed and does an excellent job managing the finances. A couple things I just want to highlight really quickly that Acacia's work and the fundraising work that Sandra leads makes possible. So one is that we had an email exchange with Sharona Chittum, the media center head, where Acacia said, oh, by the way, we allocated we have the budget. We set aside $4,000 early in the year that she could spend on materials for the library. And Acacia says, as of last Friday, you've only spent $2,100. And we get a nice email back from Ms. Chittum saying, I'm going to spend the weekend figuring out how I'm going to spend $1,900 for the library, because she didn't realize she had the money available. So it's just really great to see that Acacia's organization and the group's work really can make a lot of a positive impact. And I think another example is at early in the year, we promised the teachers, if they want to become a member, the staff and the teachers, if they want to become a member, they will get basically $100 grant to spend on their classroom. So we take that money, set it aside in case every teacher in the school says, yes, I want to participate. It turns out some don't, and then we can use that money for other purposes or maybe carry it forward for next year. But that's another resource. And so I think there's actually a number of things like that that maybe on the surface you don't realize, oh, the PTA actually paid to make that happen. But we do a lot of things like that. So I think giving that a little more visibility is something that we're trying to do a better job of. I noticed earlier, Rachel Stalcup, you had your hand up, I think. Did you have a question you wanted to raise? No? Great. So through the rest of the agenda, our fundraising update, Sandra Taylor.
See if I can work a computer as well. Yeah, so I've got some great news on that front. We have assembled a committee, and I think I see a couple on here. Rachel Stalcup and Soraya Toze have been helping. I'm sorry if I'm missing anyone. Anita Pinto has also been helping. We've contacted over 160 businesses to see if they will donate for our online auction that is going to be happening the end of this month. And let me pull up my notes. Okay, so far we're up to 46 businesses and donations totaling around $3,100. So hopefully with that, we could potentially bring in 3,000 or more through this auction. So stay tuned. And if anyone is interested in helping or reaching out to any other businesses or has any contacts, reach out to me or any of the ladies that I just mentioned. The one thing that I also am trying to get for this auction are teacher donations. I know Mr. Bowerman has offered a few things already, but I haven't heard back from any teachers. I wanted to ask Ms. Bryn, were you able to get the message out to teachers about possibly getting in donations or donating?
Yes,
something?
I put it in you sent me the text. I put it in one of our staff bulletins, but I'll put it in again for this week. I can even send a separate email.
Yeah, I'll send you another email I found that I think Jennifer Cushing had made a couple years back, and it's very well written. And so I'll send that to you, and hopefully, yeah. Are teachers, are they in school checking their mailboxes and things like that?
Yes, but it is limited. They do check, but it's not, they don't pass through the office in the traditional way. Okay. They do check it, but most everything is done electronically if we can. Okay. But I can send an email. I don't mind putting things in mailboxes. They will get it. But okay. Whereas before they might have come to the mailbox 3 times a day, once when they got here, once at the lunch recess break, and once before they went home. Now it's probably once during the day.
Yeah. Okay. And then just something that has been on my mind as we do this auction, I've been thinking of our lower income families, and I don't want to exclude them from this. And I know some of you have helped with this, have done a similar thing. And I just was wondering if anyone had any tips or ideas on how to make this because I mean, the idea of an auction is you go get the highest bid. And I don't know if if we need to worry about that or just kind of go with it. Does anyone have any thoughts or suggestions on that?
I know at the middle school they did, when they did their auction a couple years ago, there was a few things that were raffle items instead. And so you could buy a raffle ticket. They didn't have very many teacher donations. So I think it was like they had 5 teacher things. And so there was the teacher thing that they did as the raffle. But then the raffle tickets were like $1 each, and you put it in a jar of the item you want. And that was a way to involve low income.
Okay. I'll look into that definitely for some of the items that we have and see if I can incorporate that. Thank you for that idea. That's very helpful. Okay.
And I like that idea. I think, and I realize you started by saying we don't have a lot of teacher donations, but since those will be, you know, non-monetary anyway, I assume it's gonna be time, right? Like a special session with a teacher. We could also cap those at something pretty low, like $2 or $5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That it's
Okay.
about the a nominal donation, not the actual money raised.
Okay.
One note that I want to make on that is that we have, the state of Maryland gives us some restrictions on raffling as a nonprofit. So I just want to make sure that I look at that. It might be in the AIM guidelines. So the AIM is our insurance company who insures us, and they give a list of everything that you can and cannot do and how. So I always just take a quick peek at that. And there's also the cash encounters, which is the treasurer's handbook that gives things like, if you're going to do this, if you're going to deal with gift cards, if you're going to deal with this, these are the ways you need to do them. So if it's something that you guys are curious about, let me just take a peek at that and make sure that we do it in the way that is the right way to do it. That's all.
Yeah, if you could do that, please let me know, because I definitely think I'd like to incorporate a couple of raffle items.
Okay, let me look into it.
The other thing is, I assume because this is online, people are going to have a credit card, right?
So I haven't set up we're going to use Biddy now, and I haven't set it up. I know PayPal is an option. And I think there is an option. I know it makes it way more difficult, but there is an option to pay cash. But with COVID and going through school, I haven't really looked at that options. But yeah, I do think PayPal or credit card are the main 2 options.
Okay. That may be a restriction right there for some families.
Yeah, I'll look into that. And then all the other items that I've been looking at for fundraising, I've kind of put on hold as I've been doing this. So that is my update for fundraising.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much to Sandra and to the team you've assembled. I think that's really great, and it's great to see, you know, more people get involved and taking some of the burden off of all that you've been leading. So thank you so much. I think we're at now 8:15. In the interest of time, I think so the other board members that normally would be giving an update would be Brian Price, who is our delegate to the county PTA, Natalie Hill Simpson on membership, Ashwin Damadakari on communications, and Teresa Clark on program and events. So one thing I quick want to mention, Sandra, if you can be sure to connect with Ashwin on the communication side to make sure we get out the word about the fundraiser as best as possible. I think that's really important, so we maximize the impact. But I guess for all of those other members that haven't had a chance to present, if there's any other sort of urgent items that you'd like to share with the broader membership, now would be a good time, or if it can be tabled till next month or offline, I think that would be fine too. Is there anything else that people would like to share from the board side? Great. Well, then, sorry to cut. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I don't need to share it now, but I did receive the final guidance on how we should deal with the Maryland PTA. Or it sent out an email. I can send it to you guys, and you guys can, I guess, disseminate it to all the other PTA members.
Yep, that sounds great. Yeah, if you can forward that to the board email, that would be great. And I'm sorry to cut off others. If there's something else, feel free to follow up with me directly. The next meeting will be the second Tuesday in June, which is June 8th. It'll be very much similar to this, but maybe a little bit warmer outside. We are looking for an IT volunteer if anyone's interested in helping on that front. You can always email me directly at president@maryvalepta.org, and I'm happy to route your request or question to the right person. Thank you to everyone for all your hard work and for your time and for a great meeting, and we'll see you all soon. Have a good evening.